Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 8 breakdown for the Zulu's online box tournament that was held last night with myself as well as Tyler doing the commentary for it. It was a lot of fun, and if you guys want to see the Twitch VOD, it is linked in the description below as well as on this website, and also all of the deck lists for this top 8 are in for this one. So it was a 32 player cap, mostly just due to how long these tournaments can go and how late we have to do with it being, a regional online. So only 5 rounds for this one, but super fun. And we do have this top 8 for it. So going on over it, we do see that, there wasn't any shine, which is a little bit surprising. I definitely know a couple people were on it, and it's kind of like the deck that a lot of people are afraid of. And I think in like a larger event, if more people were on the deck, it'd probably be a little bit more popular. But in the top 8, we did have 2 blue flares, 2 Greymon builds, 2 security controls, 1 Belphemon, which ended up winning the event, as well as hunters. So pretty much a good variety, a lot more of like the security control than we normally see. And this is also a little bit of like a tester event. This is kind of like a local, like a larger local. So there is more like experimentation and maybe not as, I'd say, serious as like a regionals. But I do like to, the variety in these decks and kind of want to go over it for him. So I do honestly think that there's a lot of decks that are just viable in BT13, which is really cool. And there's something like that because we didn't see any shine. We didn't see any Royal Knights either. But I think that's also just a choice of people trying different stuff too, which I think is neat. So we're going to go over the top placing list in each one of these archetypes, starting off with our first place list. So this is Sergiy's first place Belphemon, which also shout outs to just Sergiy. If you want to follow him on Twitch, he does a lot of content for Digimon. Highly recommend it. That's going to be linked in the description as well. This is not the first one of these breakdowns he's been in for my events or Gaia Force's events either. He's just always kind of grinding these online ones and does very, very well in them. So, but looking at this one, he's playing the Belphemon, and obviously he's been playing a lot of purple decks, played a lot of BWGX as well, but kind of that how this deck works and kind of like the spice for it is that you get a lot of cards to help your setup. And honestly, if this deck does set up, you are like, they do just do some really good stuff. There's one of the games we watched with him, honestly, like the end of turn 1, they had like the Belphemon out. I think they had one of their Gizmons out. They had enough to recur it, and also the Tamer with Akihiro. So this deck can be a menace. If it doesn't find its pieces, it's sometimes slow to start up. And but just having the sleep mode and then having the Belphemon go for it, I think that's good. So a couple of texts that I saw for this one: 2 copies of the Nidhoggmon. This one has been moderately popular, especially since you have some ways to discard cards on your opponent's turn. It can kind of disrupt them and make their turn not as, if they were using the exact amount of memory they needed, that's kind of rough for them there. We also see a couple of level 4s that are kind of interesting, especially since they can be played off the Ostamon. So you have like the Davimon, that's just a blocker, which is nice and can help you like prevent 2 attacks in one turn. Dobermon, which you're able to, add a purple Tamer or purple Digimon from your hand on deletion, which is really nice if you need to find an Akihiro, or just one of your pieces, like recycling your Belphemon pieces. And then also the Ogremon. So on play, you can trash a card from your hand to delete one of your opponent's level 4 Digimon. So just in general, like you can play this, and there's some cards that you need to get into the trash anyways. So that's kind of good. So copies of Psychmon, because this card's very good. The Gazimon, and also some Phascomon as well for that additional draw and trash. So if you need to. So really strong deck. Also, Sergiy's just a really strong player, and congrats on their first place finish there. Next up, we have Joseph with their second place Blue Flare. And this one's been I always kind of thought of like Blue Flare as like kind of like a stun deck and kind of like value, but the ones that have been seeing a lot of success right now, I feel are more like the really aggressive ones, right? It's very easy for you to find your pieces now since there are more that exist. You can just and like the security attack +1 with Greymon, even if it doesn't like, you don't have like the restand with it, like being able to like turn 1, play this attack in, do 2 checks, and then do another 2 checks on the next turn. It can be very fatal for how the deck works. So I think that's really strong. We are playing the spice of the 1 Kazuhamon, which is able to play your Blazing Memboost. We're also playing 4 whole copies of Sorai, which is quite the menace, I think, right now. Not a lot of decks. There are a good amount of decks that will be hit by this, I think, right now. Being able to play it from free off the Kazuhamon, and then be able to play like a Greymon or something underneath and get those effects, I think is really great. So honestly, this deck's been really strong since EX4 has been pretty present in the meta, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. So congratulations to Joseph for their finish there. Next up, we have in our third place, we have Hien with their Hunters, and spoilers, they played in the finals, and spoilers, they lost because they're in third place. But I do think this was a really strong showing for it, and Hien definitely is a very strong Hunters player, knows a lot of the interactions and kind of how it goes from there. Not obviously the deck buildings for this deck is very minimal. There's not a lot of choices for it, but choosing to go with 14 tamers at 4 of the Watchmaker, which I don't think like this was as popular at 4. I think this was like a 2 or 3 for a lot of people, but has been kind of getting to 4. But the security attack +1 this offers, as well as because it's just 4 tamers of anything, that's really good. So if you have 2 of these out and then 2 other tamers, you can get security attack +2 by tapping each other, and then also just being able to like get that consistency for finding cards. So and then kind of like on the top end, we are only playing 1 Quartzmon and also the Overflowing Power, which I do think that this was able to sneak out some Arresterdramons and just get like a 5th copy of your superior mode at times, which is really nice. And so at 1, I feel this is a good choice. But anyways, really strong player. Highly recommend watching his matches if you're someone who's newer to Hunters and want to kind of figure out how the deck works and some of the ways to manipulate it. And congrats to their 3rd place finish there. Next up, we have our Greymon. So we have Justin with the more of the Black WarGreymon kind of leaning version of it. And this one's almost kind of like a toolbox in a lot of ways, just by, we have 2 Black WarGreys, we have 2 of the WarGreymons and 2 of the Black WarGreymons. And the more and more I've been seeing these topping lists, they've been kind of leaning towards this kind of ability to say, oh, I can choose any one of these. These are all like good in their own scenarios. And instead of just consistently only saying this, I want to just lean into this one, having all their effects. So like looking at our lines, so like our Greymons, there's quite a lot. So we can, the spice of being able to go for this one for 1, this one being able to play a Tie Tamer if we really need one, since we were playing 4 of the BT12 1 of the Tai Kamiya, and a Yuya as well. So I think that's a good variety. We also have the Greymon that when attacking can play the 3 or less, so you can play this one. So this one's been really popping up a lot more lately, just even if not at full capacity, but just like 2 or 3 copies, being able to play that Tamer for free is great. Obviously Tamers for free from this Metal Greymon if it with its raid effect, which is cool, and just kind of everything from there. Just deciding for like 1 Spice copy BT8, but then also the X antibody from BT9, the Alterous mode as well, and just the whole kind of stack. So Hades Force is still a great card. X antibody being able to go with your chain is really strong. And even though like this, you can only go into the Black WarGreX by attacking, or the Metal Grey X, but any of this is really good, so I think it's solid, and just the protection from the Greymon X antibody. So this is a little less. Congratulations to Justin there. And then next up we have Nicholas Yang's, which is more of a WarGreymon, and honestly just like more of an aggressive build for kind of the archetype. We're seeing like immediately like 4 copies of the Star Deck 1 Greymon for the security attack +1. We have like the Metal Greymon X though from BT11, so no like double stack with the BT9 one, but that one's really strong for you. And then we have the WarGreymon, which has with the potential of raid from the inheritable from the BT12, lets you kind of like raid and do 2 damage twice. We also have like the WarGreymon from Star Deck 15, so this is one of the new ace cards. It has the hand counter of Blast Digivolve, blocker, and then also all turns once a turn when a card is removed from its security stack, you can unsuspend this Digimon. So this is also good on like you can use it for like attacking, and then like you can restand it and attack again, which is nice. We also have like the Quartzmon, like the 1 of Spice for this. Some Spice options of Gravity Crush, Breath of the Gods, the Zubagon Punch, X antibody, and everything. So like a really, I would say, unique build for kind of the archetype, having a lot of Spice cards that I would not expect for it. So really cool. I do like the addition of the ace. I still need to play around this card because I'm not used to it still, but I do think it's really cool, and to be able to have this effect is really nice. So there it is there. Congratulations to Nicholas for their finish there. And then last deck we're going to talk about is Jordan's 6th place Security Control. So I really still like Security Control. This is like almost like the most bare bones version of Digimon, though, because it's in the sense of like there are very few non-options cards. There's just 4 Salamons, 4 Magna Ognomons, 3 of the Shadow Seraphimon, 1 of the Quartzmon, which you can Digivolve on top of the Shadow Seraphimon for the full 6, and then 4 copies of the Death Xmon, and then just a whole bunch of options and tamers. So the Mats, the Mimis, the Karis, and then also the Digimon Emperor, and then like some of the best removal in the game. So again, a little bit bare bones on actual Digimon. So I'm curious to see how successful you are at finishing games with this deck. But I also think like Death Xmon, some decks really have a hard time getting around this or removing it, and the security does mean a lot for it. So really interesting to see. I think Security Control is honestly like probably like tier 2 right now. There are like a lot of decks that are just like okay against it, but at the same time, like it's a lot of back and forth. If you set up, you're in a good spot, but like Hades Force And like Greymon, I think, has a lot of good matchups into this deck by removing their tamers, getting a lot of their value off, and like being able to somewhat play around some of their better security options, like the Long Keys, the Wyvern's Breath, and Flame Hell Scythe. You're usually just too big for that. It's really only like Chaos Degradation that you really get hit by, or like Lonky at the right time. So anyways, this is Jordan's list. Congratulations for their finish there, and that's going to be my breakdown for this event. So appreciate you guys hanging out, watching, and if you want more events, make sure to check out my Discord, which is linked below. I make announcements there, and on my YouTube and my other socials whenever I host events, so I should have one probably next month for Digimon. Shoutouts to Tyler for being a commentator with me. Shout out to Ryan for being our judge for the event as well. And I think that's going to be it for me. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.